Target date funds. What are they? Most likely, if you have a 401k plan, you see those as options in those plans, right? Are they good? Are they bad? Well, folks, you're going to stay tuned because today we're going to talk more about them.
Retiring Well, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Hi, welcome to Retiring Well. Listen, today, folks, we're talking about targeted date funds. All right, what are they? You know, and most likely, if you, again, have a 401k, you've got them in your portfolio. They're options for you to pick. They tend to be the default for most people when they don't know what to pick. So how do they work? Well, let's say that I'm somebody right now today and I'm going to retire in, let's say, 11 years. It's now 2019. I'm retiring in 2030, right? So I want to find a targeted date fund that basically says 2030 because that's my retirement date. That's the big day. So this fund, how is it going to operate? It's a targeted date fund for 2030 that as I get closer to retirement is going to try to get more conservative for me. Okay? And then once I hit retirement, I'm in retirement, it's even going to get more conservative as time goes by. All right. So when I say conservative, what do I mean? Well, let's say that I've got equities, I've got stocks out there. They tend to be a little bit more risky, and those things that are going to maybe be more on the conservative side are going to be, you know, your bond funds, you know, your fixed income accounts, right? They tend to over time have a little less volatility associated with them. They tend to be what we would call more conservative. So if I'm farther away from retirement, all right, let's say my target date is 2050, right? I could expect that as I'm sitting today here in maybe 2019, that I'm going to have predominantly more in equities or stocks, right? Because I got a lot of time on my hands. But if I'm in a fund that's 2030 and I'm only 11 years away, I would like to guess that predominantly most of this portfolio is going to be in what we call fixed income accounts or bonds. Things are going to be a lot less riskier. Okay. Now, the beauty of these kind of funds is they, you know, I can set it and forget about it. You know, they're doing all the rebalancing for me. The funds they're using within that fund already have those different mixes of equities and fixed income or bonds. I don't really have to pick anything. I just got to pick my retirement date, and it's going to do the work for me, right? I would dare say that's an advantage. And those funds that are within that fund or that targeted date fund are going to be vetted by experts, hopefully, right, in their various classes. So I'm hoping that what I'm getting is somebody that's going to be paying attention to my risk tolerance because I'm getting close to retirement. They're going to be vetting those various funds within that fund, you know, for me. So providing the management that I don't have to provide for myself seems like a pretty good plan. Now, if you want to look at how many people have moved to these kind of funds, as of 2017, it hit kind of a landmark. More than $1 trillion are in these what we would call targeted date funds because they're easy. They're easy to put within the plans because, again, you can forget it, you can set it and forget it. All right? So imagine this, $1 trillion, and that was sevenfold increase since 2008, since the last market crash. All right, so these have become very, very popular. Now, do they work? You know, are they something that I can rely on? Well, in the next segment, I want you to stay tuned for this because we are going to talk about that. You know, are they going to do what they're supposed to do? If I'm only, for example, I'm in 2008 and I'm going to retire in 2010, now you would expect versus that one that was maybe going out to 2020, it would be even more conservative. Wouldn't you agree? You would think that close to retirement, I would be more than predominantly in fixed incomes, right? Well, we're going to talk about whether that worked or not. Okay, I will tell you, there was a white paper study, and it was done by a Mark Vendetti, okay, and it was called Target Date Funds Still Off Target. And here's what he found. For those target dates, now this is in '08, that were set between 2011 and 2015, 73% of them lost 25% or more. Those that were 2016 to 2025 targeted date, now mind you 2008, most of them lost an average of 30%. Is that what you would expect, that close to retirement, losing that kind of money? I don't think so. Folks, I encourage you, give us a call if you want us to take a look at your portfolio, maybe look at your targeted date fund to see how it did in the past. We have offices all over northern Michigan, from Petoskey, Gaylord, Traverse City, and Cadillac. So I encourage you, give us a call. We'd be more than happy, no obligation to get together, more than happy to give you an analysis of what you have. Thank you.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, April 16th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord, or Wednesday, April 17th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, welcome back to Retiring Well. Listen, in the previous segment, we were talking about targeted date funds, what they are. Sometimes the value of them within a 401k plan, because guess what? You get to kind of set it and forget about it, right? I don't have to know a whole lot about investing to be in one of those funds because you're assuming it's doing the work for you. Okay, well in this segment I want to talk a little bit more about the specifics of these targeted date funds. Do they really work? This is one by American Funds. Now you got to understand, it's a 2010 targeted date fund. Okay, now I want to kind of go back. I want to imagine you're in 2008. All right, you're 2 years away from retirement. Now, you would assume, based on what you know now about targeted date funds, that if I'm only 2 years away from retirement, this fund, for the most part, is going to be very conservative, right? Would you assume that, knowing that they know you're going to retire in 2 years, they're going to probably have a very high mix of what I would call fixed income accounts, probably a lot less exposure to things that have, a lot more risk to them, like maybe stocks? That would be what you would think, right? So you can see this on the screen, but this is the American Funds 2010 targeted date fund, okay, that consists of 38% stocks, 52% bonds, and 7% cash. That means 60% for the most part of this portfolio is in bonds, only 40% in equities, right? Now, does that seem appropriate for somebody getting just a couple years away from retirement? I would dare say it sounds a little bit closer than being 100% in equities, right? Now, if you look at just the bonds themselves and you look at the credit qualityness of those bonds, you would like to think that they're going to be on the higher grade, right? Because I'm getting close to retirement. So if you look at these bonds as a whole, you'll find that almost 69% is AAA rated. You got another maybe 13% that's A rated or above. So you got about 3/4 of these bonds are A rated or above. So the credit qualityness of them is good. So not only do I have a fund that's predominantly in fixed income or bonds, but then the bonds themselves have a very high quality to them. Now, you would think getting 2 years away from, I'm looking 2 years away from retirement, that this is going to be a portfolio that, for all practical purposes, can't lose a whole lot, right? So going back to the history of this account, and you look at what it did in 2008, it lost 28%. 28%. Now, if I'm somebody that's worked my whole life, I've got my retirement savings, it's all there, I'm 2 years away from retirement, and now I just lost 28% of it, does that bother me? Is that something that I would like to avoid? I would dare say so. I would dare say so. So this is I just ran a chart. I said, what does this look like? Let's say I'm somebody that had $500,000. I'm taking 5% out for income. It's now 2008. I'm in this 2010 targeted date fund, and now I lose 28%. I went from 500,000 all the way to 334,000 in that year. I've worked all my life, I've got my savings, and now all of a sudden, in the first year I'm getting ready to retire, and all of a sudden I just lost 28%, and to make matters worse, I was pulling out 5%, and now I got 334,000. Now let's just state, for all practical purposes, I stayed with that fund. And I stayed with it all the way up through let's say 2018. Based on the historical returns of that fund, I'm now back to 344,000. Is that acceptable? Is that something that I would want to experience? Folks, I would dare say not. Now, a lot of you have these targeted date funds, you've got them in your 401ks, and you're asking yourself, am I in the right one? How did this fund operate in 2008? Folks, we have the ability to be able to do that. So I encourage you, give us a call. We have the tools to get behind any kind of a fund, any kind of a portfolio, and tell you exactly how much risk you're taking. All right? How did that particular fund operate in 2008 when the market dropped to half its value? So I encourage you, it's no obligation to meet with us. We have offices all over northern Michigan, Petoskey, Gaylord, Traverse City, and Cadillac. So give us a call.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, April 16th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord, or Wednesday, April 17th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated Financial Decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today. Retiring Well is now also airing on radio, bringing you insights from Northern Michigan's financial advisors specializing in retirement planning. Every Sunday at noon on WTCM AM 580. Don't miss Retiring Well Radio, every Sunday at noon on WTCM AM 580.
Hi, welcome back. This is Chalk Talk. Now listen, today we're talking about targeted date funds, okay? We talked about what they are, why sometimes they can be very valuable within a plan, because basically you get to kind of set it and forget about it, right? But what are some of the drawbacks? Well, one is you're passively invested, right? There's no what we call active management. So we've talked about that, but a lot of folks at this point will say, okay, Larry, you know, I'm in this targeted date fund, but you know, what do I do? I mean, it's what my 401k offers. I don't know how to pick from a lot of the other choices. You know, what are some other options available to me? Well, one thing a lot of people aren't or don't understand or don't know is that when you're in a 401k, you're in a company-sponsored plan. Okay, now a 401k, that company-sponsored plan can be different with different companies. It has different rules depending on what they decided they wanted to be in their plan. Well, every 401k has the availability for somebody to get out of that 401k, okay, and go into their own individual retirement account, or what we call an IRA. Eventually, most people, they have a lot of these company-sponsored plans. Eventually, when they get to retirement, they want to roll all these over into their own retirement arrangement or their own retirement account so that they can make the investment choices for themselves. Because when you get over into this environment, into an IRA environment, the whole world of investing is available to you. You're not just stuck with whatever the 401k has in its selection. So, when is the time to go from a 401k to an IRA? Most typically, that's when you're done working with that employer. Now, every 401k, as I indicated, is going to have different rules as to when you can. Many tell you that you do have to wait till you're done working or you're terminated from an employment before you can take your 401k and do what's called a rollover into your IRA. Now, a lot of folks don't understand maybe what a rollover is. It's just simply taking your money from the 401k and rolling it over into your IRA. It's called a custodian to custodian transfer. It's a non-taxable event. There's no tax ramifications from doing so. Okay, so that's very, very important. Now, a lot of 401ks, and this may come to a surprise to a lot of people, they allow you to roll it over from your 401k into an IRA before you're done working, before you're terminated from service. Sometimes they'll pick an age. Many will say that when you reach the age of 59 and a half, you can do what's called an in-service rollover, meaning you can take your 401k and roll it over into your IRA. Now, some will allow you to even do it before that, but some will pick an age by which you can do it before you're terminated. Now, a lot of folks will say, but Larry, if I do that, can I still participate in that 401k? Absolutely. You can roll everything from your 401k over to IRA and then still continue to participate in that 401k if you're still working for them, if that plan allows it. Now, a lot of plans, to a lot of people's surprise, will allow you to do it now. You don't have to wait till you're terminated. You don't have to wait till some set age like 59 and a half. Your plan will allow you to do that, what I call an in-service rollover, at any time. Now, why would that be valuable? Because again, the investment options available to me when I get over in this environment are going to be much greater. I'm going to have a lot more choices available to me. It's going to be in my control. Not only that, when I get over in this environment, there might be some other opportunities like Roth conversions that I can take my IRA, pay the tax on it, and get it converted over to a Roth IRA. I can't do that when I'm in this environment, but I can when I'm in this environment. Now, 401k, what is that? Honestly, all that is an IRS code. An IRS code that sets the rules for that plan. This could very well be what they call a 403B. It could be a 457. They're all just IRS codes saying that it's a qualified plan. But the availability to do this and go over to here is there. So folks, I encourage you, give us a call. If you're somebody that's not liking the choices that you maybe have in your plan, then maybe give us a call. Maybe we can help find out whether you're a candidate to be able to do what's called an in-service rollover, get it over here in your IRA into an account that you can control. So I encourage you to give us a call. Listen, if you were diagnosed with a life-threatening illness and the doctor was prescribing a life-saving procedure, wouldn't you get a second opinion? Sure you would. Well, how much more so for your retirement savings, which you've worked so hard for? Listen, we've watched the market drop to half its value now the last couple decades. We're now entering a rising interest rate market, which is going to bring downward pressure on bonds. Where do you go? Listen, with these new market realities, this is a time when times are good, when the outlook is good in the short run, to go out, get a second opinion, and make sure you're positioned properly for any market. I encourage you, give us a call. We can take a look at what you have, we can see whether you're positioned properly, and make recommendations accordingly. So give us a call.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, April 16th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord, or Wednesday, April 17th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Welcome back to Retiring Well. John Torbett, Art Canfield, Financial Advisor, Senior Partners with Centennial Wealth Advisory here in beautiful Traverse City. And we also have offices in Gaylord and Petoskey and Cadillac. So we'd love the opportunity to sit down with you in any one of those locations. And so Larry's been talking a lot about these target dated funds. And it really got me thinking, Art, about how a lot of times when we're visiting with folks, they're showing us how, hey, we've got this balanced portfolio and everything, and you came across a recent example where you're running an analysis of that balanced portfolio and sort of the results that you found, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, just this week, John, and it's not uncommon we do this. We offer that free portfolio analysis for folks. We have the ability to get behind that and sit down with individuals and walk through and just educate what they have, you know, and look at the advantages and disadvantages of it, the cost, the portfolios, the risk, and what we call the max drawdown. And that's what I kind of want to talk a little bit about that today, because it was a very eye-opening experience for the individuals we sat with.
And so when you're talking about max drawdown, like in my mind, I'm picturing, okay, here's sort of the high point and down to sort of the low point that you're talking about for the portfolio value and sort of what percent drop that occurred. Is that ultimately?
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, we know where those portfolios move around, and then really, you're exactly right. From the point it starts down, what is that percentage that it pulls the portfolio down till effectively it hits that floor, right?
Sure.
That's effectively what we're talking about. And then one big piece is, when we talk about that, is what you call the recovery portion, the recovery time.
Okay.
And that's the time that from the point it starts down, how many days pass before it gets back to where it started. Okay, so one of the big things that when we watch that is this particular portfolio, the max drawdown was 40%.
Wow. Okay.
So their balanced portfolio was 40%.
Okay.
So can you imagine their shock when they learned that that's what it could do?
Sure. And so you're talking about a portfolio that has roughly half of it in stocks, half of it in bonds, and you said 40% that it experienced a drop. So if you can imagine that you're in a scenario where you're thinking, well, I'm pretty well balanced, I'm maybe a moderate risk type of thing, and here I am, maybe close to retirement or in retirement, and you experience a 40% drop. That is significant, but it's unfortunately not too surprising a lot of times when we're running this analysis for folks just like you, and you're looking at, here's what can happen. So,
and they come in and they were very confident because they've been told over and over they were well diversified. They kept using that word. We're diversified, and they were. They had cash, they had fixed income, they had equities, they had international, they had U.S., they had all this sort of stuff which they thought was diversified. But at the end of the day, that they still were poised or had lost that drawdown. But John, as you know, in this business, mainly working with people entering retirement or in retirement, that was bad enough, but it wasn't the worst part about this situation.
Oh boy.
And it sounds like it get much worse, right? So here's the problem, though, is the duration, the time period that it took for this portfolio to get back to where it started.
Okay.
So it drew itself down, and then of course we know markets commonly or can historically make back those losses over time. Well, these folks weren't into retirement yet, but do you know how long it took them to regain the 40%?
oh, let's just say a few years.
Right.
Yeah,
because we had to make more than 40% to get that money back, right? So it took them 9 years to get their money back. So from the point it started down to the point it got back to that point was 9 years. So effectively, this particular portfolio went through a 9-year period where really it didn't make money.
Right.
At the end of the day, can you imagine? So they weren't in retirement yet, but can you imagine what that would have looked like if they were in retirement?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And that's where, again, as you're getting close to retirement or you're in retirement and wanting to preserve that principle and ultimately set it up to maybe generate an income stream, you can't afford to just sit on the side for 9 years and not allow your account to grow at all. So that's where we welcome you to give us a call. We're happy to sit down, give you a second opinion. No cost, no obligation. We're pretty laid back guys. We just want to sit down and talk through that with you and see what your retirement looks like. We'd be happy to help you. So thanks again for tuning in to Retiring Well.